All right, welcome everyone to the run-up. Obviously, I am not Kelly Francis.
No?
I'm not Kelly Francis. This is shocking, I know, but she is out right now celebrating her father's birthday. So, sir, happy birthday to you.
Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, hey, look, we're doing the best we can tonight, John. Okay? We're going to do the best we can. We think we have a somewhat decent show. I don't want to promise the moon to people. But the only thing that's going to give this a remote opportunity for success is that we have John Nelson joining me at the moment.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then later on, we'll be joined by the illustrious Jason Longshore and one Mr. If it happens, like I understand there's a comet that's flying by for like the first time in 6,000 years. We're in 2020. Anything can happen. Apparently, Jarrett Smith may be joining us on the broadcast. Speaking of things that are, that happen once in a blue moon. But Jarrett posts infinitely more content than I do, so I really have zero room to talk. But your thoughts so far, John, on what you've seen with the tournament? Well, we've seen some teams that have come out of the gate looking really good, some that have gone Chernobyl, some that look like they don't even want to be here. Who, to you, so far has stood out in the MLS's back tournament?
Well, I think that Chicago, for me, Stalagmite FC, has been one of those teams that has stood out for me. Heck, I'm just going to look at logos here because I've got Match Center lined up because I'm ready to talk about what happened with Cincinnati and Columbus when we get to the Cincinnati part of the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. Stalagmite FC. Nicely done so far with all the new faces, and you've got soccer folks, and hey, imagine what happens there. Cincinnati, we'll talk about them in a bit. Colorado, disappointed early on. Columbus, they've got, I'm looking forward to seeing. We saw Columbus, obviously, against Cincinnati. Can they continue what they've done? Houston and L.A., you looked at that one the other night, and Houston looked great, up 3-1. Then they didn't look so great when everything finished up 3-3. And L.A., they were down 3-1. Things didn't look so great. And now they finished up 3-3. And so you look at that one, and I have questions about LAFC's defense. I have questions still about the Galaxy's defense. Inter Miami, we talked about them on the show this morning with Jason and myself. And, there's some stuff there for Inter Miami, but I think that they need to add some pieces. I like Lewis Morgan. I like what he's been able to do out on the edge. But when they try to get things done in the middle against Philadelphia, tremendous defensively. Philadelphia right now. They are absolute studs from what we've seen. And then the purple team. Can we mention the purple team on the show?
I think we can. They have, based upon their performance so far, I think we can. I think we can mention them now.
Okay. And Andrew Rannells, usually when we're doing the morning show, we get to hear Andrew Rannells get to mention that particular city. So I'll leave that to him. And, we mentioned Philadelphia, Portland. I think that would. There you go. Yeah, so those that are fans of the purple team, this is what happens when you have Oscar Pareja in charge. Portland, we saw what they were able to do against L.A. Seattle, once again, slow Seattle. Beginning of a season, you get slow Seattle. And waiting for them to finish this tournament, and then they'll probably pick up for the remainder of whatever the season looks like on the flip side of things. So that's early returns for me, just kind of staring at the 26 that are a part of MLS is back.
To me, so far, the story of the tournament so far is Orlando. They look like a completely different team. Oscar Pareja has I don't know if he has taken about 14 gallons of holy water to that facility and blessed the play. I don't know what happened, but they look not only competent, they not only look composed, they look dangerous. Nani still has speed. He's utilizing it now. When he utilizes that speed, there's somebody on the opposite end waiting to receive that pass in a dangerous position. Chris Mueller is going to be, he's the man of the tournament so far. But as far as the disappointments go for me, it's going to be and I want everyone to prepare accordingly.
Okay.
Atlanta coming out of the gate disappointed me.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived.
That roster, to me, the roster is I understand everything that we're dealing with, and we're going to get into that because I don't give any of my super hot takes without any sort of backing information, right?
Yeah, and you're going to stand by your prediction from this morning, sir.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Prediction of 1-1. A good heel never caves from the initial promo. When you drop that initial promo,
he just didn't.
You stick with the promo. And
you don't twist the promo to fit a particular narrative after the fact if you're wrong?
It's only after the fact that you do that,
okay.
Right? It's like when Ric Flair lost to Mr. X and it was later revealed to be Ricky Dragon Steamboat, and then they had the epic meltdown promo, I'm a millionaire, this doesn't happen to millionaires. Then you fit it in.
Okay.
But to me, it's Atlanta, Colorado. I thought LAFC, I really expected more from them. Even without Carlos Vela, I expected more from LAFC than what I saw. Seattle, I'll agree with Mike Conti. It looked like they didn't. It looked like they don't want to be there. Like, okay, we're going to get through the tournament. Let's just get through healthy and we'll be on our way. And maybe they know their team and they just say, hey, look, we understand that we're not going to be that great at the beginning of the season. It's not in our character. It's not who we are. We're going to become the zombie sound. It's fine if that's your thing.
Yeah.
I don't believe out of the teams that I've listed as a disappointment, I don't believe Atlanta's is terminal. I don't think New York City FC's condition is recoverable. I think NYCFC is another team that I forgot to lump into my disappointments. Right. NYCFC to me, they are a team that they looked adrift to me. I don't know what's going to happen with that team. I don't know if I'm going to have to get Jarrett to give a little more information on their particular manager.
Okay, so I'll save my question for when Jarrett pops back in.
Right. There we go. To me, there are a couple teams that look like they're recoverable. Atlanta's absolutely. They have the talent. They have the coaching. But it's also why I believe it's going to be a 1-1 game with them. And because there are some external factors that are going to pop into this that are going to be a little bit problematic so far. But I want to talk about one thing, and it's going to come across like I'm shoving it in people's faces. I'm not. I'm very proud of the fact that there are 0 positive COVID cases coming out of the bubble.
Yep.
That proves that the model works.
Uh-huh.
And you can have a disagreement on whether or not you believe that the tournament should have happened in the first place. That's fine. That's valid. If you don't want resources going to, I get it. But in my opinion, we needed this tournament. We needed sports. We needed as a soccer industry in America, people's jobs are on the line.
Just as business in America, really.
I mean, really, yes. Because MLS is proving the model can work. And I think the NBA's paying attention to this. The NHL's paying attention to this. And they'll figure out, where to make improvements or, address their own failings in certain situations. But I'm beyond thrilled that this tournament's taking place. With that said,
mm-hmm.
I do think that it's something where I don't know if this is a situation that can be replicated in other sports. Like, I don't know if this could be replicated in college football. I don't know if it could be replicated in even the NFL, in my opinion. But what MLS is doing right now, as far as the bubble goes and the management of the bubble, I mean, top marks to them. Well done. I've got to give them their props on that.
We are here for an hour, about another 50 minutes. So I'm in charge of Twitter this evening. So you want to hang out with us on Twitter? It is at Soccer Down Here. It's at OSG Nelson. It's at SOC over there for Nick Leafy.
Yeah.
Okay, then. So what? You want to send them to the other one?
No. We can go to at SOC. That's fine. We'll go to at Sock over there. That works.
So at Sock over there, at Jared _Smith. And the silent executive producer extraordinaire, Jason Longshore, is monitoring the Twitch conversation. So thanks to everybody who's hanging out with us on Twitch as well. A couple of random questions I had off the top of my head, since we do not have a morning show tomorrow. No morning show because Jason's kind of busy. And we're all going to be watching what's going on with MLS After Breakfast, I guess. MLS After Mike had MLS After Dawn as opposed to MLS After Dark. So we've got the game. But what I want to know, first and foremost, for those who've been paying attention on the timeline, Bartimus Prime has been trying to find a coffee mug to save his life for the match tomorrow. Has he found one yet? That's one of the questions that I have. Obviously, since you're going to talk about your prediction and your result, Jarrett's got his, I have mine. We can get into that as well. Get into starting 11s, what folks want to see with that. And then most importantly, with the meal tomorrow morning, how are you going to be spending your time? What is the meal in front of you, and what should the meal be, sir, since you are the resident chef of all of us? What should the meal be as you're watching the match tomorrow? What are folks going to be drinking / eating? Those are the questions that I have. Inquiring minds want to know.
I'll start off with the breakfast menu for me.
So I figured.
Yeah. So I always start with scrambled eggs with some cheese. That's my go-to. We have a garden here that we actually went through wine boxes from the local Italian market here. That's right down the street from the Alifi Studios, and we got these empty wine boxes, and some of them are fairly deep, and we turned them into mini gardens, like mini raised garden beds, and we put green onion in there. It's the freshest green onion. It tastes unbelievable. If you buy green onion at the store and you find that it is often going bad in your refrigerator, take it, get one of those little boxes, plant it, give it about a week or two, and it will completely change the taste of the green onion, and you will never go back to just buying green onion. You just go out, you snip what you want, put it over the eggs, you're good to go. But I will be doing eggs and pancakes tomorrow. I am a huge pancake fan. Anytime that I get an opportunity, because I'm 5'5", there's nowhere to hide weight gain for me. So I have to be sparing, especially in the world of COVID and no gym access.
Yeah.
I need to be very careful. So pancakes get sprinkled here and there. Tomorrow will be a pancake morning.
Okay. I've actually lost 10 pounds in well, it's because remember I was telling you when last time I got to the doctor's office and the physician's assistant said, "Oh, you like eating, don't you?" Literally, that's what he told me. But the thing is, all right, so here's the deal. I feel like Joe Pesci in Lethal Weapon. Here's the deal. Okay. They can't figure out if I'm 6 foot or 6'1". Honestly, they honestly cannot figure out if I'm 6 foot or 6'1", because my height seems to change every single time I go into the doctor's office. So when I'm 6 foot and I'm the weight that I am, the body mass index gets a little higher than it normally would. If I'm 6'1", when they measure me at 6'1", then of course it's a little less. So they measure me at 6 foot this time, and my BMI is off the charts, and that's when the physician says, "Oh, you like to eat, don't you?" And he's being straight-faced about it. And I'm like, well, no, actually, I like to drink soda. And so that's from only cutting down the Mountain Dew to the 1 cup a day. This is not Mountain Dew right now. This is a diet beverage of not my choice. So I'm down 10 pounds. And when you walk 2 miles a day and 15 miles a week, that's what happens. But anyway, that's what happens to me. So I'm going to be skipping breakfast in the morning. So anybody who wants to let us know what you're eating, what you're drinking, what's your meal, how are you going to be spending your time, send us pictures in the morning, too. What do you expect the lineup to be? We'll get into that as well, results, predictions, all that kind of stuff. What else is on your mind?
What's on my mind, one, is Milan. If you guys watched AC Milan play today, it was absolutely incredible. They're balling out of control. They have a very difficult decision ahead of them, whether or not they part with Pioli or not. I know it's not soccer over there, but it's on my mind. I've got to just throw it out. Look, when it comes to tomorrow morning, and I want to go ahead and start jumping into this, because if Jared is listening, and I know that Jason's listening, and he is just waiting, I have a little window where I can see what Jason's doing. And anytime I start mentioning this, he starts leaning forward into the camera. Like he starts like, what is this clown about to say? and so Atlanta on paper, no matter how many changes Frank makes, on paper should run this Cincinnati team off the field. There should be no doubts. There should be no concerns. There should be no worries at all.
However, you have them, so go ahead and lay
I have them. If it were a game of FIFA or Football Manager, it would be lock, stock, and barrel. Atlanta's running away with it. It's not. It's real life, and it's a game at 9 o'clock in the morning in the humid Orlando air. Mm-hmm. And when you have extraordinary circumstances, such as a 9 o'clock in the morning game as a professional, most of them haven't done it since they were like 10, there's room for buffoonery. And when you allow room for buffoonery, odd things can happen. So we have to be sure about how our picks here, it's not just throw it out there, Atlanta's going to win. I think that when you combine, see, I've got an invader now.
Where did you put the we're looking for?
The remote's on the table. There you go. Storybots apparently paused. So
no.
You don't mess with storybots in this household. You just don't do it. So I think that when you have extraordinary circumstances, extraordinary results are possible. And that's why I think it's going to be 1-1, because if you have a team in Atlanta that has proven, both under Tata Martino and under Frank DeBoer, they can switch off at certain periods of time early in games. And I think that in Cincy, they looked like Chernobyl for the last 70 minutes of the game. Mm-hmm. They were a disaster zone. But for the first 10, 15 minutes, they were very competent. I think in our DM thread, I said, wow, Cincy actually looks pretty good. This is wild. And they possess the ability on set pieces and on moments of a lapse in judgment to put one on the board. I just believe that there's something in my gut, my gambler's gut, that is telling me that Atlanta's going to allow one, and then there's going to be some challenges in getting a goal, but they'll get one, and they'll walk out with a draw. To me, the hour of the day and the weather conditions have more to do with this prediction than a lineup. I have gun for gun, it's Atlanta all day. Yeah. I just think stupid things happen at stupid times of the day.
Okay, so you're looking at what happened with Toronto and their 2-2, where it was 2-0, and then all of a sudden it's 2-2, and Bill Hamid is running his mouth, and Michael Bradley is pointing fingers, and dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. That's what you're thinking is going to go down.
Right, yeah. And here's another thing. Jaap Stam was the young Ajax manager when Frank was the first team manager, right? There's nothing Frank can pull out of his hat that Jaap Stam has not seen before. There's nothing that he can pull out. There's no sort of, the combination play, all that. He knows how that's going to work. There's no mystery here with this. There's nothing he hasn't seen. Jaap Stam does not have the weapons to run Atlanta off the field. I don't think Jaap Stam has enough bullets in that particular gun to win the game even by a goal. But I do think he has enough knowledge and just enough talent on that team to gum up the works. And I think that's where Atlanta could run into some ups. Look, let's just get out of here with a point. We're just going to gum up the works, and we're just going to play very physical, and we're going to do essentially not replicate what the Red Bulls did, but we're just going to play very physical. We're not going to play pretty ball. I think they can walk out of there with the draw.
Okay. So, Kefsi on Twitch.
Yeah.
I would appreciate some perspective from the Garlic Bread Warlord on Miami being called the Rossinieri, as well as simultaneously being Palermo to my eyes and Inter on paper.
The Palermo refer to themselves, if I remember correctly, as the Rossinieri as well. I wish they would have gone full Palermo with the Miami kits, like the full pink. I think that would have been absolutely gorgeous. Instead, they went with that kind of that little super light pink, ultra light pink on the white. I'm not a big fan of that, but yeah, that's. I believe if I remember correctly, and I refuse to go to the computer on this one, I believe that Palermo refers to themselves as the Rossoneri as well. So there's your little bit of perspective there. But the Palermo kits to me are beyond beautiful. They always have been. The black with the hot pink, it looks really good. But I wish that Miami and Adidas would have been able to do something a little bolder than what they pulled off.
Right now, and this is a composite from our friends at Odds Portal. Mm-hmm. Atlanta United minus 196 and FC Cincinnati is plus 501 right now to win tomorrow morning. Your draw is plus 330. Mm. So Mr. 1-1 draw. I'm going to stick with my predictions.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a plus 330. You're digging that?
I'm digging it. Here's the. I'll give you guys a little bit of inside baseball as far as I go. If I were to put $1 on Atlanta United winning, Cincinnati is going to win 4-0. I don't know why. You could have Boy Scout Troop 773 versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Put all your money on the Eagles. I guarantee you Boy Scout Troop 773 is going to win. Whether it is Tommy Thompson, 82 pounds of him, throws a Hail Mary 72 yards for a touch. I don't know. Something stupid's going to happen, and they're going to win the moment I put a nickel on that line. But in my gut, this to me just screams draw. It just screams draw to me.
I really disagree with you. I don't see it. I mean, you have you look at the superior firepower that Atlanta United has.
Right.
Going up against a team that is still trying to figure itself out with Jaap Stam in charge.
Right.
And you don't have Jurgen Locadia as a part of the offense that you counted on. You had Regaton up top, and your midfield, you had Kubo, Sim de Jong, Mane, Medunjanin, and Frankie Amaya. That was what it was listed against Columbus. And you had 5 different guys take shots on net, and the only one that had more than one was Kakuta Mane, who had 2. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's six shots on net, or six shots, and only 3 of them were on goal. Both of Mane's and Regaton's. So,
how many shots did Cincy have on goal?
They had 3, 2 from Kakuta Mane and 1 from Regaton.
Okay,
that's it.
Right.
Shots on target. So I don't see it formulating that way. But of course, I'm not Mr. Juicebox either, and pretty much whatever I say, the opposite happens when I do stuff like that.
Red Bulls had 4 shots on target, and they walked out with a 1-0 win. It can happen. Now, obviously, you're playing a bit of Russian roulette if you go by that. If you go by that mindset, shots on target, 1 lands, right? Mm-hmm. It only has to be 1. And with the way that I think it's going to happen is I think it's probably going to come on a set piece. Guzan will be crowded, and it's going to be some stupid deflection that just goes in.
Kendall Waston with a Vancouver flashback?
Why not? It's going to be some stupid, dumb deflection that nobody could have planned for. It's just something that happens in the game, and it's going to go in. Red Bulls had, 7 shots, 4 shots on target. The number of shots, like Milan today, for example, I mean, they were just putting shot after shot after shot, and they walked out of there with a 3-1 win. Not every game's going to be like that. Not every win is going to be a high volume of shots and shots on target. Sometimes it's the stupid goal that gets in. Mm-hmm. And, if Jaap Stam gets that 1 goal, that man will not just park a bus. He will go down. He will get that monorail and he's going to ramp that
He's
thing.
He's going to drive it
the
over from Disney World
right.
itself, and he's just going to camp it out right there.
You're going to see this 6'4" bald guy ramping the monorail onto the field to shut that game down. And, dumber things have happened. I get it. Hey, I see the look that you're giving me, John. I understand. But,
yeah.
Possession-wise,
you have the facilities for that, big man.
Perhaps not Big Shaq, but Atlanta had close to 70% possession. They had close to 70% possession against the Red Bulls. Did they walk out a winner in that game?
You are embracing the heel, sir. That's all I can say.
Did they shots on target? Red Bulls 4, Atlanta 4. If Joseph Martinez is on the field,
I don't know if Gwen's agreeing with you.
I think we all know the result in that Red Bulls game. I'm just saying. Look, I mean, we see the shirt I'm wearing. I'm not a Cincy fan. I look at a game and I don't get emotionally invested in the pick. And that gets people angry because guy behind a microphone does not get emotionally invested in the pick. Guy looks at it. He makes the gambler's gut prediction. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes it rains.
All right. What are the people? Is anyone on Twitch or Twitter saying anything?
Right now, Twitter is wide open. So if anybody wants to say anything on Twitter, they perfectly can. Jason is monitoring Twitch. So when he comes on in a little bit, he can let us know what else is going on from Kefsi's question that was there early on. But wide open once again. How are you handling your morning? Bartimus Prime, did you get your coffee mug yet? What's your morning meal? Any ideas on lineups, results, and predictions? And Nick is sticking with 1-1. Jarrett gave us the 2-1. And if he makes an appearance on the show this evening, then he can explain himself. I said 3-1 this morning. I thought that it was going to be at a point where Jaap Stam was going to be so mad at FC Cincinnati's lack of offensive firepower that he was going to go out there himself and do something off a set piece, and that he was going to be the one that was going to be credited with the goal. I think he'll be in the extended part of the roster in the morning.
I said this on Twitter. I have no problem repeating it here. Jaap Stam in the second half of that game looked like a man who was watching an 18-car pileup with a chicken truck involved.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he really looked like, my God, what have I gotten myself into? And keep in mind, Jaap Stam has never managed anywhere for more than 2 years.
Uh-huh.
That's it. So I wonder, honestly, what Cincinnati's game is. Because if you hire a manager who's never managed anywhere for more than 2 years, and you're talking about building something, it's not like Atlanta where we are from the gate building a Saturn V rocket to a championship. It's not like LAFC. We are building a Saturn V rocket to a championship. You're going the route of the Minnesotas of the world. We are going to have a sustainable build. We are going to build something. We are going to develop something. Are you really linking up with Jaap Stam to make that happen? And I get that it didn't. Your first manager selection didn't work. Your second manager selection didn't work. Jaap Stam, maybe you reached into a hat and pulled something out. I think that there are more stable managers if you're trying to build you could have gone to.
So you're on your fourth.
It is their fourth, isn't it?
You had Koch, the interim,
Yep.
Ron and now Jaap Stam. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you're telling me you're building something. And so it's a concern to me for Cincinnati. The way that team was built from the jump was problematic. I mean, I think they signed about half the defensive midfielders in existence.
They were ready for that 1-9-1 formation, basically.
That's right. They bring in the water boy and a couple of ball kids as extra defensive midfielders just in case.
Yep.
It's not even a Christmas
entirely
tree.
Too many troublemakers here.
That's right.
The name's Dalton.
That's right. It's not even it's like the one of the Mesoamerican pyramids, like the mounds. Like that's sort of what it's like. It's not even a Christmas tree that's that inverted. It's like It's like this. But I think Cincy's only option here is to crash the monorail and just try to snag one goal on a set piece, bunker to the ends of the earth. I think that's the only way they're getting out of here. And I don't think Jaap Stam is doing this because he wants to with expectations that he's going to win the tournament by any stretch of the imagination. I think Jaap Stam needs to do this because he has to give his team some confidence, because after Columbus scored that first one, it wasn't like the wheels just came off of Cincy. It's like the wheels exploded off the car.
Well, I'll say it happened after the second goal. You had 2 goals within 3 minutes of each other. I think it was 27 and 30. Then you just tried to get to the half, and then it was 2 more in the second half. So for me, they were with them in the first. They were with them in the first 25. Then you get as you say, ZZ Top, or is it ZZ Up Top?
I say ZZ Top. I try to keep it as clean as possible. ZZ Top is what I went with, but we may have some trademark and issues there.
Yeah. So right now we have Kefsey saying Atlanta's going to win, sir. Not just Atlanta's going to win, but Kefsey's being polite about it. Kefsey is saying Atlanta's going to win, sir. Mrs. Claus predicting a 3-1 Atlanta United win. Thanks for the prediction, Mrs. Claus. Good to have you on hanging out with us. And Badgermon 19 is requesting suggesting the ziggurat formation.
Ooh, I like that. Excellent. A little Mesopotamia action happening there. And to Kefsey, I say, do you bite your thumb at me, sir? That's the question I have. Do you bite your thumb at me, sir?
Oh, goodness gracious. You are, how do I phrase this? You're opening yourself up for a lot of comments if this match goes a certain direction that is not a 1-1 draw.
That's okay. Look, part of the heel is that you embrace.
Oh, no doubt.
This.
Yeah.
You embrace it. And I guarantee you right now, like Kelly was probably sitting down with her dad, like, hey, look, let me show you what I'm up to. This is the show that I'm working on. And within 37 seconds, she's like, Dad, I got to go. I got to get out of here. Happy birthday. I've got to go get on camera right now. This is going off the rails. This dude's crashing my show.
She took her glass of red wine with her father and basically dumped it into her computer monitor.
That's right. That's exactly.
Throwing her red wine at you virtually, so everything is going to work that way.
Yeah. Again, if it's FIFA, if it's on paper, fantasy soccer, however you want to call it, Atlanta should run away with this. It should be 3-1. That's what it should be, based on lineups, considering who Cincy's going to have out. I think Greg Garza has been moved to the questionable list. I think De Jong has been moved to the questionable list. So there's evidence against what I'm predicting. I'm aware of this.
Yeah. But once again, embracing the heel function in all of this, you're locked into your 1-1. You're not going to change anything. You're going to stick with 1-1 as heels do when they cut their promos. They're not going to sit there and say something different. Well, if the match, unless you plant the seed, something goes wrong.
Something goes wrong. Yeah. I'll give you a little idea on why I am this way. When I was at Turner, we, of course, had to cover all of March Madness and the conference tournaments leading up to March Madness.
Yes.
Since I was on the junior end of the producers, I got stuck with the A10 conference and all of these other smaller conferences. So, but I got to see teams like LIU Brooklyn and Armstrong State, and I started watching these guys saying, you know what? In a tournament format, this is a team that could beat a team like Syracuse. This is a team that could, well in this situation, it could just gum up the works. And with that in mind, I took myself up to the top 7 in the country of March Madness brackets, right? The top 7. Yes, golf clap for Nick. But I saw that everyone had picked Kentucky, because remember, this is everyone in our office was like, oh, Kentucky's going to win. Kentucky's going to win. This is the Anthony Davis team, right? Which was like one of the greatest college basketball teams ever constructed. I said, no, it's going to be Kansas that's going to win it. It's going to be Kansas is going to win it. They got Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid can, keep him in check. That one loss dropped me like all the way down to like 42. It was crushing. But I rode the heel all the way to the end. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it allowed me to pick Armstrong and LIU Brooklyn.
Okay. Well, and I imagine that you're the guy that sits there and makes those 4-12, the 5-12 and the 4-13s, that occasional 15-2 that you can get into the second round and get all the big points.
Right. Yeah. That's what you have to do if you want. But it's not just to play the heel card to play the heel card. You do it because the situation sets up that way. In a regular season where Atlanta United would have had enough time to really build, enough chemistry, enough, options as far as with Joseph Martinez being out. Mm-hmm. You have a player who can step up and say, okay, I'm comfortable with this. I'm good to go with this. There's no concerns here. I've got the yips out early on. I'm ready to ride. You don't have that now. Now what you have is a team that is still building chemistry, and you're still trying to figure things out. I think Adam John's going to start this game. I think PT's going to start as well, but I don't think he's going to play that long. I think because he did so much running, I think it may be something where Frank just says, look, man, give me 40 minutes. I'll get you out of there. But, let's control the game. Let's control up top. Let's get scoring opportunities. 40 minutes in, hell, high water, death, taxes, asteroids, space aliens landing, the monorail, Yapstam ramping the monorail. You're coming out of the game.
All right. Mrs. Claus with a question to the floor.
All right.
And you got a co-pilot now?
Yeah, I got a co-pilot. Jackie Fresh has joined. Hey.
All right. Mrs. Claus wants to know which Atlanta player needs to show the most improvement from the Red Bulls match for United to get the win tomorrow. Of course, you picked a draw, so this may be a good question for you.
To me, go ahead.
I was going to say, is it Castro, Hisetia, who?
I think it has to be Castro when he comes in. Castro, to Castro's point, when he said, "I created I would feel worse if I didn't create the opportunities." I'm paraphrasing. I think it was something in that vein. Mm-hmm. I think he's 100% correct on that. He did what he needed to do. He was where he was supposed to be. But I believe that really the critical player in this to get a draw is not going to be from a scoring standpoint. I think we're going to get the goal. I think Castro is going to be important, but I really do think it's going to be Mesa in the back. I think Mesa in the back, that communication must be crisp. Prove me wrong, win the game, but to do it, you're going to have to keep that stupid goal from happening. You're going to have to keep something from like that Red Bulls goal from happening. Right. Communication, making sure that if you are the central defender, I want to make sure that you are where you are supposed to be. My guys need to be on either side of me. I want to make sure that the assignments are being called out correctly. I want to make sure that distribution's happening the way it needs to be happening out of the back. But I want to make sure that in moments of crisis, we know where we're supposed to be. I think Mesa has to be that guy because he has the experience to do that. So
in order for you, it's Mesa and Castro 1 and 2.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. What about you? Who are you feeling?
No, I agree with you. I had Castro initially as thinking offense and thinking in my very linear, straightforward fashion. But yeah, defensively, Mesa would be there as well, just because, once again, first time that those three played in game state, and you're going to have communication problems. You're going to have you're going to think something is going to happen from all of the time you've spent at practice, and it doesn't happen in game state. So, I think that the more that these three become acquainted with each other, you're, going to have that fluidity. But once again, you're coming out of the blocks, and the games mean something. It's World Cup group stage is what we've always talked about. So right. I think that the notion of from defense, so you don't have that fourth-minute goal from someone like a Florian Valleau, then, it's Mesa. For me on offense, And I like that Castro said what he said. That I like the confidence that's there. He's like, yep, I got it, paraphrasing, obviously. Yep, got to do it, got to do better, got to put him in. So I love that confidence. So from an offensive perspective, Castro, defensive perspective, Mesa. There.
No, I think we're absolutely in agreement on that. It's Atlanta's issues are solvable. And look, this is coming from an Italy fan who is notorious for slow starts in World Cup and Euro group stages. We are the kings of slow starts. Atlanta can get past this. It's not a problem that Atlanta can't get out of this. But like you said, you have to build those relationships. You have to build that chemistry so that way you can have those assignments called out where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there. And like Frank said, maybe that communication and that chemistry allows you to be a little bit more aggressive.
All right, 20 minutes left. Those watching on Twitch, topics to the floor. How are you handling your morning? What's your meal? Is it liquid? Is it something that Nick has created? Are you having your own breakfast? Bartimus Prime, if you're listening, either on tape or live, have you found your coffee mug yet? What's your lineups? Frank did say that there was going to be some different faces. Results predictions. Nick is sticking with his 1-1. Jared has said 2-1. I have said 3-1. And I know that we have to get into the Ronnie Dyla discussion as well in the next 20 minutes as well. So that is where we are. Everybody, let us know what you're thinking. Gustavo, hopefully Gustavo is watching, because Gustavo gets the chance to catch up with us on Twitch. Mm-hmm. And he has sent notes through social media that he's watching on Twitch and sent screen caps and stuff like that. So it's been very, very cool. And glad to have Gustavo as a part of the family as well.
Gustavo.
So, uh-oh.
Hey, Kool-Aid!
Oh, yeah. Kool-Aid here, bringing you fun. Kool-Aid's got thirst on the run. Get a big, wide, happy ear to hear Kool-Aid smile. 'Cause the biggest smile is a Kool-Aid smile. A Kool-Aid smile, a Kool-Aid smile.
Your friend's cool. My friend's Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid brand soft drink, thanks.
Hey, what's going on? There's supposed to be another Kool-Aid man here, but he's not here. So,
Oh.
Well, in Jarrett's defense, for those of us who have kids at home during all of this,
mm-hmm.
Your schedule, like you have this idea of what your schedule is going to be, and then magically
Boom.
it just, it's like all the way down. So, yeah, we're sorting that out now with this character here, because we were expecting to be sent back to school, in the next month or so, and now it's like, no, that's not going to happen, justifiably so, in my opinion.
Yes.
And so now we're like, all the schedules have just been blown up. So, Jarrett, if you can make it, great, pal. If you can't, we get it.
The box is there. If Jarrett pops up, he pops up. We don't know what happens. He might show up. Right. Gustavo is watching on Twitch. He says hello.
Hola, Gustavo.
Hola, Gustavo.
All right, Nick's been talking a lot of nonsense.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, come on, let's go.
Yeah, I know what you're doing, and I want to make one thing clear. Like, can Cincinnati score in this match? Yeah, I actually think they're going to score twice. But I don't think they can stop anything. That defense, whew. And it's not like they have a bunch of options on the bench either. Andrew Gutman's probably going to play because Greg Garza is questionable now. Michael Vanderwerf is not on the list. He was for concussion protocol for Saturday. He might come in for Kendall Waston, who was horrendous in that first game, and somehow Saad Abdul Salam was worse at right back. So it's not like you've got Maldini and Baresi coming off the bench to replace these guys. It gets worse. So I'm with you on the monorail. They're going to have to try to find a way to retract that thing and have it run into field 17 and stop right in front of the goal, and then maybe run another track in to run another one in front of that. Because I think Cincinnati's got two options here. They can say, you know what, we don't care about the result. We're trying to build something. We're going to play. and we're going to play straight up. And that's what they did against Columbus. The problem is when they got punched in the mouth, they didn't have an answer, and they got scared and got worse. They looked okay for the first 15, 20 minutes. Yeah. They could do that again and run that risk of getting punched in the mouth, or they could play very, very defensive and play for a result. Stom's really, the things he said make me think it's going to be the former, not the latter. Because I think he's got to use this as a way to get to know this team. He's been there for like a month. I think tomorrow is a month since he touched down in Cincinnati. So I just think they're in a really tough spot, and he's got to take the risk to learn about his players. You know, it's something we've talked about before with you can see guys train, you can watch tape, but you have to see how they respond from a tough spot. This is going to be a tough spot for them. Atlanta's got to make it a tough spot, don't get me wrong. But this is going to be a tough spot, and I think Jaap Stam is going to go for it because I think he needs to. I mean, his run in Cincinnati, it's not going to be defined by where they finish in this group. It's going to be next year. If he can learn some things about young players in this team, like a Frankie Amaya, who played all right on Saturday, do you give Brandon Vasquez a longer run out to see what he can do against his former team? Do you play some youth in the back? I think he's going to use it as an opportunity to learn more. I think it's extended preseason for him. I don't think he's going to be as tactical as he should be if he was going for the result here. And that's going to hurt them in the long run.
I mean, because his 11 against Columbus, Garza, Waston, Saad Abdul Salam, Pedersen, Amaya Medunjanin, Mane, Sim de Jong, Kubo, Regaton. Subs used, Gutman for Garza. Cruz, Stanko came in and they replaced Medunjanin and Regaton. Fatai Alashe came in and he played 22 minutes. Brandon Vasquez came in and played 37. So, do the guys that got the runouts, are they the ones that start this time around for Jaap Stam? Do you see an Alan Cruz get the start? That kind of stuff.
Alan Cruz should get the start because I think he's their best player. There's just not a lot. I mean, you mentioned the subs. These are the guys who didn't play. Matthew Duplan, who reportedly wasn't 100%. He could start it right back for Abdul Salam. Nick Hagland, is he better than Pedersen or Waston or Vanderwerf? I don't think so. I think he might be a little bit better in the air, but Atlanta's not going to attack through the air, so it's not really a game for that. Zico Bailey, who has very little experience, and Thomas McCabe, who has very little MLS experience.
Right.
That's what's on the bench. There's not a lot to change this. The biggest thing that kills them in this tournament is no Jurgen Locadia.
Yeah.
You don't have that guy up top who can have a moment of brilliance, get you a goal, and then you can be a little cagier. You're starting Regaton, who's a right winger, up top. You could start Vasquez up top. That's it. That's your options. Yuya Kubo, you could start up top if you want, but he's another winger. You don't have another forward in this group. So, I don't know. I don't know what the solution is for Cincinnati, but I think Jaap Stam's got to use it as a development tool. I don't think he's playing for a result here. If he was, it might be more difficult for Atlanta because I think he could be very defensive and try to set up a line of 5 and play a 5-4-1 or a 4-3-2-1 and get very defensive, pack the middle, try to make it difficult for Pity Martinez to find space. But Harris Medunjanin's not going to do that. Maybe Stanko. I would start Stanko over Medunjanin and see if it looks better with that because he's a more true defensive midfielder, but there's just not a lot of options. Stam and Gerard Nijkamp have a lot of work to do with this roster because he's very limited in what he can do right now.
But you think this Cincy team can get 2 goals?
I think they can get goals because I think it's going to be a weird game. I think it's going to be a sloppy game. I think if Atlanta gets goals early, they might check out at the end, and we see some things like what happened with Toronto. But I think Atlanta's attack can punish Cincinnati for any slip-ups they have. Yeah. I think Atlanta creating 10 chances, should have had more than 4 shots on goal. 10 chances, you should have at least 5 shots on goal. Castro probably should have had 2 that weren't on goal. I think there's goals on this team. I thought there were goals in the team. I think Atlanta was different than Seattle, NYC, Toronto. I think none of those teams looked as good as Atlanta in this tournament so far.
No, and that's why, to me, Atlanta, it's okay to call Atlanta's performance against Red Bulls disappointing. To me,
the result is. I would disagree with you. I think the performance was not disappointing. I think the result was disappointing. The sharpness was disappointing.
I thought they played way too safe. I thought they should have pressed more. I thought they should have.
You can't press a Red Bull team. They don't have the ball long enough. They're just firing it long. They completed like 60% of their passes. If you press, you're not going to do anything out of it. You got to win the second ball. You got to transition quicker. But pressing, Red Bulls don't give you a chance to press because they just bomb it long anyway.
I just think that this team, they appeared passive to me, and they appeared passive. I'm hoping that I think the 9 a.m. start, you may see that again, even if Frank says, "Hey, look, we want to be a bit more aggressive in how we play." I just think the hour of the day is going to be problematic. I think it's going to be a bit more problematic than most people will probably want to.
You know what? Credit. I think it would have been more problematic if it was game number 1 for them, and
I
think it would be more problematic if they had won game 1. But I think they probably have been lit into a little bit by both Frank and by players like Brad Kazan, Jeff Larinowitz, because where they were passive isn't the word I would use. I would say unfocused in the first segment of the first half. It was very different after the hydration break. And you saw the clips. Frank was flapping his arms around. He was very animated. And that's when you saw Franco Escobar drag a guy down who's trying to break away. That's why you saw Pitti get stuck into somebody when he had a giveaway. It changed at that point. And that's what it needed to be. But you didn't need to have the bad start. So if you want to say they were unfocused for 30, I thought they were better for 60. I think they were the better team on the night. It depends on just where you draw the line. Like performance, does that include everything? Is that the way the team played? Is that the result? I separated a little bit in this. Like performance overall, I'm good with it. I think it was good enough to get a result. The quality, that little bit that is either the big defensive play or the final touches in the final third, that was lacking early on the defense, throughout the night on the final third.
Yeah, I believe the officiating is going to play a role in this game.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah.
Yeah, Alan Chapman.
Yeah.
No. Alan Chapman was last time.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're talking about this game. This is a preview show. So let's talk about this one because
Kitty get a whistle.
This is important. Alan Chapman's a guy who doesn't like to blow the whistle a lot. He ended up calling a decent number of fouls, but his cards were weird. You've got Victor Rivas in this one. 5th Major League Soccer match for Victor Rivas. He worked the 2-2 Dallas-Montreal game on March 7th. He worked 2 games last year, 1 in 2018. You look back at his kind of card distribution. He threw 2 yellows in that game earlier this season. He threw 6 in his last game in 19, 3 in the game before that, 5 in the game before that. Pretty average yellow cards. He did a lot of USL Championship, did some NWSL, did Open Cup. He did that Orlando NYC quarterfinal last year, the one that went to penalties. This was the thing that jumped out to me. His last red card was a second yellow last April in USL Championship. His last straight red, and he works regularly in USL, so 20 to 25 games a year. Last straight red, April 2017. Doesn't like to throw the reds. And Cincinnati likes to play very physically.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that's going to play a part in it.
It could.
Like I said, I think I get what you're saying about about Jaap Stam that he may just say go for it because he needs to learn about the team. But I also think that the psychology of your team is very important. And Jaap may say, if we walk out of here with a result against a quality team like Atlanta, that maybe we'll have that will help us out a lot. And so I think that he can gum up the works by having his boys play physical and stick it to, Pitti and Barco, especially if the officiating allows it. And like I said, gum up the works. Just gum up the works. It can happen.
Oh, Cincinnati will play physical. They have to. What's going to be tricky to see here about this is how the game's officiated, and just a guy who is in Game 5 of his MLS career, is he going to have the personality to get in Kendall Waston's face if Waston does what we've seen him do many times? Medunjanin, two guys that we've seen blow up at referees. Is he going to be able to handle that? And the reason I mentioned in the cards, our favorite New England Revolution fan, Shooter McGavin, thinks we might be overreading that one. The reason I'm bringing it up is without seeing a lot of his work, when you see a guy who throws red cards in the mix, I mean, usually you're talking about an average MLS ref throws a red 1 out of every 3 games. That's about the normal stat. And when you see a guy who just doesn't throw them in USL, in NWSL, in CONCACAF youth stuff, I mean, anything. He just doesn't throw many reds. You wonder if when that moment happens, whether it's Pitti beats Waston, he's in alone, and Waston drags him down, does he show the red? If you see Waston throw an elbow like he did against LGP with Vancouver a couple years ago, does he throw the red there? And he, you don't have much to go on, but it's something to keep in mind for a team that likes to play physical in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Right. John, your thoughts?
And will Pitti Martinez get a call? Didn't get it with Alan Chapman.
Well, no, that's not true. He got calls. He got 5 fouls called against him. I mean, that's a lot. That's more than most games, but no cards came in for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So at some point you have to flash the card to change the way the aggressive nature of a team. You have to do that. If a guy's not willing to throw cards in USL, I mean,
see, it's Game 5. I mean, this is the usual pathway for a young referee. You work a game here, you work a game there. The fact that he's in the mix for this tournament, is it because some regular guys aren't available? They didn't want to work this tournament. We don't know. Or is it because this was his pathway? He was going to move up from 1, 2, 3 games a year up into that 10 to 12 games a year. And if he does really well, then they bump him up to a regular status. We'll get a good look. He's a guy that I'm not very familiar with. Don't remember seeing him much. So he was the 4th for the match on Saturday, Atlanta and Red Bulls. So he's seen Atlanta play up close. Maybe he'll handle things a little bit differently in terms of persistent infringement. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Can we agree? Sorry, John, go ahead first.
No, I was just going to say the Colonel's in, and with the discussions for the questions to the floor for the show, he says that breakfast is the most important meal. Skipping it is bad. Mountain Dew will kill you, and it won't even feel bad. And Nick, small cardboard raised beds. That is spot on, the Colonel says. And he says we do the same for multiple crops. However, and he says that in all caps, Nick, you pick like other individuals, and you are not to be taken. You are and is to be taken as not seriously. Colonel saying 4-1.
I think I made. Why am I getting a finger wag from you? I'm getting a finger wag.
Jackie Fresh is pulling.
I like Jackie.
No respect. Look, I will say that. I will say this. The psychology of a team is important, and if you inherit a team, if you take over a team, and because you get sold a project, right? You get told you're going to have the ability to develop a team, you're going to have an ability to do this, things that you may not have the opportunity to do in Europe, you're going to be able to have here in MLS. It's very attractive, right? But every manager knows that rug can be pulled out from you at any moment. So, and a manager like Jaap Stam, if he doesn't feel that what he's trying to put into place is not working, it's not a fit, he will walk away. And so I think and Jason, I know what you're saying, valid, logical, I get it. John, get what you're saying, valid, logical, I get it. I just believe that he's going to try to find something to build off of from here. And does he have a deep roster? No. No, he does not.
Yeah, not so much.
Does he? Yeah, there's not a well of talent to go to here. But, Brandon Vasquez has been known to pull out, a couple of
not the Open Cup,
goals here and there.
It's not the Open Cup.
It's not the Open Cup. Okay, so it's not the Open Cup.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
Just saying.
Earmuffs.
It's Gattuso. It's okay, right?
Gattuso, my boy.
On the naughty channel.
That is my boy.
That's the naughty channel. We need the naughty channel stuff.
Yes,
I'm on
is
record.
Very excited.
Can we please have a naughty option somewhere in the chain?
Yes, we need that.
Oh.
I am on record right now. We need the naughty channel scarves.
Gustavo wanted you to say your bad words in Italian, so I didn't go Italian, but I went with Gattuso. It was the best I could do.
Hey, the thing is that he started picking up the Italian bad words. Yeah. So I find myself where I used to be able to make it fly. Whenever whenever like a car would cut me off, I could let it fly with no problem. Now he's picking it up, and so on certain moments in soccer games, U11, Italian profanity is suddenly flying across the field. So
at least most referees at the U11 level don't speak Italian.
Correct.
Most.
Correct. And we're not dropping it now. So
yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's just the rants in Italian gif. That's all.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But I just they are in a position where they really have nothing to lose because they're such a disaster right now. It's going to be very meat and potatoes out of Cincy. I don't think there's going to be anything.
It's going to be oatmeal from what you're describing. They're just
oatmeal could be a very good and nutritious dish, sir.
No, it can't.
Depends on what you add to
it's
it.
Garbage.
Terrible. What kind of oatmeal are you guys eating? Hold on.
It's oatmeal. Oatmeal's oatmeal. I mean, you put other stuff on it, but
yeah, but no, like oatmeal in the sense of just oatmeal. No, you're not adding any blueberries.
You're just eating
or
plain oatmeal.
Plain oatmeal. That would be FC Cincinnati tomorrow.
No, there's instant oatmeal. There's steel cut oatmeal. It's radically different, guys. You got to broaden your horizons here. It's not just the stuff that with like
FC Cincinnati ain't radically different, brother.
That's true. FC Cincinnati is instant oatmeal.
They're instant oatmeal, the single serving, where it fills up half of your bowl, and you realize I've got to get another serving in here for it to be anything resembling a bowl for breakfast.
But you know what? You may not like it. It may not be what you want to eat for breakfast. But if you're broke enough, you'll eat it.
Oh,
and it will fill you up. If you're broke enough, you'll eat it.
Chacho's right. Cincinnati would put spaghetti in their oatmeal.
Or chili, yeah.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Skyline oatmeal.
That's a terrible thought.
Chacho, that is good.
Well, Skyline oatmeal at Kings Island. I guess that's
right, Nick, I think you have convinced our friend Shooter McGavin, our one of our loyal viewers on Twitch.
There you go.
Shooter said, I'm going to go Moneyline Cincy and live a bit dangerous.
Wow.
I like it.
He said, it's MLS, man. Crap teams can steal games.
Wow.
Is there any other league in the world where crap teams are able to pull out results like that? When we always say, "Oh,
Prem.
that's such an MLS result,"
Ask Aston
There's not
Villa
many.
recently.
Tonight could be one of those games because I just saw the live shot from Orlando, and Nico Cantor had a very heavy umbrella over him.
Oh, no.
Vancouver is plus 360. San Jose is minus 139.
Oh, okay. So that went from 134 to 139 now. Okay.
ooh,
It feels like one that could just get really stupid. Although Vancouver has nobody who can score goals, so
hold on. When did that
I'm not
line
touching
move?
it.
Do we know when the line moved?
During the show.
Recently, John's
During the
keeping
show,
an eye
it was
on
134, yeah.
Ooh,
That's
Somebody knows
Vancouver,
something.
San Jose. According to BetMGM for tomorrow morning, Atlanta minus 189,
That has
Cincinnati plus 475.
That has dropped. So
See,
the
Nick, you've convinced people.
minus 200 was when the show started. Now it's in the minus 180s.
Oh, and Kevsey
Vegas.
throws Lecce and Lazio into that question. The any league that can have crazy results.
Yeah.
Serie A has been a little bonkers here lately, that's for sure.
oh no, it's been absolutely nuts. You had Sassuolo today that was down 2-0, then up 3-2, and then ended up in a draw. A 3-3 draw. Serie A has been absolutely bonkers to watch, and minus problematic fans, it's actually viewable.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good. So
Matias Almeida got a haircut.
Yeah, it happened a long time ago. Where you been?
I didn't know that he got the haircut.
Yeah, it happened a long time ago. Where you been? I think he did it
Not-
before he went into the bubble.
Not watching Matias Almeida get haircuts, that's for sure.
Well,
All I'm saying
watch
is
him get a haircut. I've just seen him lately.
if the line is moving dramatically, if the line moved for the Vancouver game, somebody knows something.
There's nothing
Something-
to know. Vancouver can't score goals. Their three top forwards are out.
I'm just saying, the line moves like that close to
Vancouver
kick.
hasn't played yet.
I think they're staring at Nico Cantor in this big golf umbrella.
I'm trying to see
Who can win ugly?
they have guys. I feel like I know this league pretty well.
Okay.
I feel like I can go starters and key subs pretty much off the top of my head across the league.
Sure.
I'm looking at their front six, and I recognize and know anything about three of them.
Not a shock.
It's going to be interesting. I think San Jose runs them all over the field, and it gets weird, but take the over. That's where I'm at with this. Bet the over on this game.
Okay.
It might be
All right.
5-3. Who knows?
Hey, so you're saying what? So your official pick on this is what? What's your official
On
score?
Vancouver,
Are you
San
going
Jose,
5-3?
I'm going to go 5-2 San Jose.
5-2 San Jose.
I got Philly right last night. I told everybody
There you go.
they were disrespected. That
Well,
line
thank
was
you.
disrespectful, and Philadelphia made me sweat it a little bit, but I got that one right. I almost
All right,
got
Jack-
Houston Dynamo right. Almost.
Yeah.
Jackie Fresh says 3-1 San Jose.
That's fine. I think the rain will make it weirder, but yeah, that's fine.
The over-under of 2.75 is minus 114.
What's the draw?
It's over under what now?
The over-under, and you can pick your number.
Uh-huh.
The over-under at 2.75 is minus 114. The over-under at 3 is plus 116. That's where it changes.
So you pick either over under at 3, and if you get it right, you get the plus 1 whatever.
Yeah, you get 16 bucks.
What is it at 4?
Plus 317.
There's my number.
There you go.
There's your plus 4 on the over under and San Jose to win. You can parlay that one, have fun with it.
And it just went up to 320 while we're talking about it.
I'm going to go with Jackie Fresh on the 3-1.
You're gonna go
I'm
3-1?
feeling 3-1 on this one.
Okay. We've heard our predictions for tomorrow, and as we
Yep.
wrap up, the games tomorrow night. Let's get into these. We'll make a couple predictions, and
All right,
I'd
let's
love to hear from you guys on Twitch and Twitter as well. Shooter is The jaws on the floor after my 5 spot for San Jose. The Canadian Derby. The Canadian Derby doesn't have a name. I don't know why, but they don't have one. Montreal and Toronto. Montreal plus 250, Toronto plus 100. So Toronto's, even.
Yeah,
even. Montreal, neither one looked all that great in game 1.
Yeah.
I think Toronto looked better for their good portion, and they looked worse for their bad portion. Montreal was just kind of there. So, man, this is a tough one.
I think you're going to have an inconsistent team can be sorted. I think it's easier to get out of the that inconsistency than it is to just be there. I think we all know who you are. Also, keep in mind Montreal, new coach bump. I think that's going to wear off. I'm going to go ahead and say Toronto. I'll say Toronto 2-0 over Montreal.
Okay. John, what do you think?
I go 1-1. I think that Thierry Henry finds a way to get a point out of this. I think it's going to be 1-1. That's just my gut.
I think
Jackie
Thierry
Fresh is
Henry
going
finds
2-2.
2-2. I think Thierry Henry finds a way to get 3 points. 2-1.
Woo.
Victor Wanyama, ladies and gentlemen. I think he has a nice day. The nightcap, Columbus, Red Bulls. Could be very, very interesting. Depends on what happens in the morning. Columbus plus 135. Red Bulls plus 185.
In my opinion on this one, this is where we're really going to see who Columbus is. We saw Columbus against Cincy. Cincy went full Chernobyl. They were picked apart. I don't think that's a solid – that gives you a solid idea of where Columbus is. Columbus looked very good, don't get me wrong, but against terrible competition, I just don't think it's a good barometer of where you actually are as a team. Red Bulls will put them a little bit into the furnace. I'm going to say it's going to be 2-2. Columbus will have to score an equalizer late to get it leveled.
Okay, 2-2. What do you think, John?
I'm going to go 2-1 Crew. I think I am all about the Crew right now, so I'll go 2-1, and I just think that they find a way. I don't see it out of Red Bulls. I think probably something late, and it's probably somebody like Royer off a set piece. I think Columbus gets out to a 2-0 lead, and I think Red Bulls get one late 2-1.
Jackie first says 2-1 Columbus.
Okay, 1-1. I think it's going to be tight. I think the Red Bulls are going to make Columbus work for it. I think they'll get physical. My question about Columbus is Artur and Nagbe in the midfield with Zelarayan in front of them.
Yeah.
Do they have enough steel in that group, or are we looking at LAFC version 2.0? And I think the Red Bulls are a team that will, if they can be exploited in that part of the field, the Red Bulls can do it because they're going to be up in Artur and Nagbe's face consistently. And we'll see how Zelarayan deals with the Red Bulls for the first time. It's one thing for a guy like Pitti who knows what you're expecting against this team. Zelarayan hasn't played them, and he's not a natural number 10. So I think Columbus will have more problems with the Red Bulls than you might think. I'm going 1-1.
Okay.
Everything in that game is going to be on Darlington Nagbe. His ability – their success or failure in this game will be on Darlington Nagbe's ability to keep the ball. And
I'll tell you who the secret weapon for Columbus in that game is, Luis Diaz, because he gives you the option over the top to skip the press, bomb it down into the corners, let Diaz run. That's your way. If you prepare and you have a game plan going into that, that's what you do. Is anytime you start to feel pressure, dump it into the corner and let Diaz go.
Yeah, I believe that Chris Armas is coaching for his job. I think that he needs anything he can get to help, boost his resume internally. I mean, I just think that a lot of the passes that Columbus was able to complete and against Cincy would have been devoured by Red Bulls.
No pressure.
And that. When you come out of a game like that, we see it sometimes with with teams out of Liga and when they go into Champions League. Stuff that they're completing against the lower tier teams where it's just a cakewalk. You're like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. We've got this. And then, some of those better teams in the other leagues just eat you alive. To me, that's Red Bulls in this case. They're my tournament favorites. I think that they're gonna win this if they can keep their fitness up. That's gonna be the key. If the fitness falters, they're done for.
That's crazy talk, Nick.
Hey, I keep it real.
Real crazy.
I don't think you have the facilities to do that, big man.
You just made the list.
Yes. No
Thanks,
doubt.
Le Champion.
Man.
But the one thing that does concern me about Red Bulls is that in that second half, they dropped. And we talked about how they were going to use situational pressing, not full-on pressing. Yeah. And we were right on that. We talked about how they were going to end up dropping into a mid-block. I did not expect them to drop as far back as they did in that game. That really shocked me on that one. I thought that was a very puzzling call from Armas on that.
Did it against RSL too in week 2. They're really trying to have a couple alternatives because I think he knows you can't press the way that they have and have anything in the tank at the end of the season.
Yep.
And that's
agreed.
And also, I think Chris Armas is right on that. And keep in mind, to get a little soccer over there, when Ralph Rangnick is almost certainly stepping away from the Red Bull organization. He was the person who oversaw the overseas technical operations. He's not calling those shots anymore, which leads me to believe that Armas may have a little bit more pull and say so and maybe a little bit more weight in talking to the higher up saying, hey, look, we have to change how we do business. So I think that's something to consider as well.
They need to spend on more Kaku type of players.
Yes.
They don't have to go get the big DPs. I don't think that's a smart move for them. But go get those young South American players that can develop into Salzburg and Leipzig players. They should spend a little bit more there because I think they'd get a big return from it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if any organization, you can hate them for what they did with Leipzig, and you could say they are the bane of all things football. The model works. I mean, they develop players, and they are competitive at a level they should not be, based on their Mad Max Iron Maiden style of ball, which I'm okay with. I know we have our disagreements on that, Jason, but
it's garbage.
Garbage.
It works. It works.
So garbage.
You can hate
It
Catenaccio.
can work. It's garbage.
You can hate Catenaccio. It worked. You can hate gegenpressing. It works.
It's a gimmick.
A gimmick. It is far from a gimmick, sir.
Where has it won anything?
I mean, Dortmund was able to gegenpress their way.
That's not Red Bull. That's a little different. Red Bull style.
Red Bull style?
Some supporter shields. That's not the big trophy.
Salzburg would like to say that system that
it's Austria. Jarrett could go put a team together and win in Austria.
So what? Look, gegenpressing allows you to take players and say, look, we don't have to have you be at a level 10 right now to contribute and be successful. You come in at a 7, a 6 or a 7, put forth that effort, that physical side of the game that is already developed, and we can take care of the rest to get you to where you need to go. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a phenomenal way to develok players. It's a fantastic way.
No, it's not a phenomenal way to develop players.
Yes. Take team. Look, you can watch what's going to happen with Milan if Rangnick takes over, because you have teams that are in financial trouble, and you can be successful with this system. It can work. You don't like it, but it works.
Yeah, that's full karma right there. That's
Oh,
full
stop.
Karma.
Oh, stop. It works.
He won't make it more than a season.
Dad, if you keep
You don't think he's going to make it more than a season at Milan?
No, I think he's going to get frustrated because he wants to change the culture, and I don't think the culture can be changed that dramatically. I don't.
Gazidis is flushing everyone out. He's flushing everyone out.
That would be the thing that might buy him more time, but he's going to need a lot of it because it's a completely different way of evaluating players. It's a completely different way of recruiting players. It's a completely different mentality. And, what Milan fans and what the Italian press, when they see a Milan game and they write, like, oh, this was good soccer, they played really well, et cetera, this is going to turn all that on its head. And people won't like it at first because it's going to be not as successful at first, and I don't know if he rides that out.
I beg to differ. I think what he's going to do is in his intro press conference, he's going to talk about how he used to watch tapes of Saki's Milan with the press, and he's going to say, "This is what Valery Lobanovsky and Arrigo Sacchi are the two guys who really helped me to influence and develop this system. This is what I'm bringing here," and it's going to work.
Sorry, Kefsey on Twitch said, Jackie Fresh knows better. Don't believe this guy. However, his dedication to be wrong until after the fact is impressive, as it is misleading.
Boom.
How is it wrong? Ralph Rangnick took a third division team to the Bundesliga and made him competitive. His disciples have gone off to be successful in other places. They develop players and send them on. And what more do you? And it's financially sustainable.
That part's true, 100%.
It's financially sustainable. We could talk about all these big spenders in the world. Milan will not outspend Juve because Juve is a subsidiary of Exor. They can shift and manage debt in a way that no other Serie A team can. They can't keep up spending with Inter because Inter went through their troubles. They got financially sound, and they still have the ability to buy youth talent in a way that Milan can't right now. Milan is going to be paying 2 coaches whenever they fire Stefano Pioli. And somebody said on Twitter today that Gianpaolo and Pioli should go on like this great buddy adventure and like film it.
Tango and Cash.
But but they can't afford to fire another manager. The system will work because it is financially sustainable to do so, and it's going to get them to Champions League. So it will. Napoli's getting older.
I
they
got
don't
faith
have
in my boy Gattuso.
I love
basically they're Florida State paying like 3 different coaches at once.
Yes, that's exactly what's happening. They are the Florida State paying 3 different
I just
coaches.
got uninvited from any Stanley Cup watch parties.
It's true.
Jackie Fresh, please take a note that Jarrett is not getting a Christmas card this year.
I already know I'm not. It's all good.
Because you don't even know anything about this.
Well, look, I'm just telling you.
It's fact.
Jackie Fresh wins the night, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
All I'm saying
is dropping the hammer.
All I'm saying is, if you need a system that's financially sustainable, easy to implement, it's going to have. Look at New York Red Bulls. How many times have we said, who in God's name are they putting out on the field? Right? We've never heard of this guy. Was he like a third division college player?
That's John Wolynek.
And they live supporter shields. They are there fighting for playoff spots at the end of the year. They have to make subtle adjustments to get through the playoffs, but they're there. They're doing a better job systemically than Columbus has done over the past 5 years. They're doing a better job of being more
Red Bulls
competitive.
haven't played in a MLS Cup since
They played in
2008.
one MLS Cup, and they got there in the Western Conference because Dark Ages MLS was so wild and fun.
That was before they knew what a press was. It was when Juan Pablo Angel was leading the line.
Yeah, but you've made one MLS Cup final.
Because they gassed themselves out. They have to change the system for playoffs. The system is not built for playoffs. The system is accumulate as many points as humanly possible.
So they're the Atlanta Braves of the regular season?
You might want to talk to Marcelo Bielsa as well. Now, he does it differently, but Bielsa teams, Leeds last year, Bielsa teams historically have had this issue. Teams that play 100 miles an hour, San Jose last year, another prime example, they run out of gas. And it's a playoff team or not a playoff system. That's the concern I have for Rangnick is he's going to come into Milan. He's going to have the buy-in. If he goes with that press conference idea that you mentioned, Nick, That's the way to win people over, to say it is the evolution of what Milan was. It's the evolution. It's coming into the modern times, and it's a way to be competitive and spend less money. All that's true. It won't win Serie A. It will not win Serie A. I don't know if it gets them into Champions League.
No, I think it gets in the Champions League because, to me, the two most dangerous teams are going to be Juve because of their ability to spend and their ability to move debt, and Atalanta because what Atalanta's doing is just nuts. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely nuts. Yeah. I think Inter is getting older. The changes that Conte wants to make are going to be problematic, and culturally, I don't know if they're going to be able to keep up. I don't know if Roma is stable enough.
I'm sorry, Twitch is hilarious. I love y'all on Twitch.
But here's the thing: if you want to be able to compete and develop players, Milan has not been developing players. They've just been buying poorly. So look, if Twitch wants to massacre me on this, they can.
Katie Weaver showed up on Twitch to take shots at you.
Oh, here we go. The Spurs fan is going to jump in.
And she says hi to Jack, too.
Hey.
Gustavo from Argentina says, I want to support Nick, but I also have a reputation.
Nick, we could all agree with you, but then we would all be wrong, and where would that get us?
Yeah, really?
I can't. Nick, I'm going to beg you to do this for the listeners. I'm going to beg you to do a Milan recap, a Milan weekly next year.
Okay.
It can be 10 minutes each week,
right,
but just to check in on how Rangnick ball is taking hold in Milan, what people are saying about it, and your thoughts on the whole process. I would love to hear that from preseason day one to the end of the season.
That's right. I know what you're hoping for. You're hoping that by the end I have like the Grizzly Adams beard and the sunken eyes. And,
no, I don't want you to suffer, but I just want to be entertained along the way. That's all.
You know, Captain's Log Supplemental. The team's doing terribly. The wheels have fallen off. Stardate 86742. I get what you want. I understand this. What I'm saying is that you have a system that did not. You have a system that it's going to cause a cultural shockwave when the first day of training they hear the audible clock that he likes to use. Mm-hmm. And it's an audible ticking 8-second countdown to recover the ball, 10 seconds to put a shot on goal. And that's going to be where the shock and awe comes in for Milan, just as it did for Leipzig, just as it did for Salzburg, just as it did for any other Red Bulls team. It's going to be a situation where he is going to weed out anyone, including one Mr. Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone over the age of 25 is out the door. They're gone. So, it's going to be a youth revolution there, and there will be bumps in the road. But I'm going through the list in my head right now of how many teams could handle what's going to be coming their way. Enter early because Conte will run a 3-5-2 and just park. I mean, it's going to be like a 5-3-2 really by the time it's all said and done. Juve, maybe. It depends. Bonucci is different because Bonucci has the ability to spread the ball across the field from the back line with pinpoint accuracy. So if Bonucci stays healthy and sane and out of trouble, it'd be fine, But Roma, Lazio, no, they're going to have major trouble with it. Sassuolo the Sassuolo game with the way they try to play, that'll be a riot. It'll be fun to watch. They'll beat them as well. You're not going to get the stupid draws that I think you used to get before Pioli was able to finally provide some sort of lift to the team. But for all those who are disagreeing with me, we have to find a way to have sustainable soccer. We don't have that right now for a lot of teams. And the idea that you're just going to buy player X and they're going to solve the issues for 80 million euro, those days are done, especially with COVID. They're done. You can't. I mean, the return is not there anymore. The return's not there for a team like Milan.
Sorry.
Jason is on Twitch and he's gone.
That's my reaction to Twitch.
Oh, we have a Whitecaps lineup, by the way.
It's probably bad.
Yeah, I'm sure it's bad.
Well, according to Tanawal, his comment when he saw this lineup is, "Yes, this is for real."
See, I told you. Like, I don't know how Vancouver does anything tonight. All right. We've got to stop talking at some point because there's things that have to happen. Like, I got to
get up
sleep.
at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, my alarm's set for 4:30.
What's
Gustavo said he would hire you as his lawyer, not your coach. You're an expert in defending the indefensible. Gustavo is killing.
What is Gustavo planning?
It's awesome.
Don't worry about what my client is planning, okay? My client's not planning anything. My client is someone who is a fine, upstanding citizen in society, okay? That's what he's planning.
Shooter says about your comment, John, earlier about the Braves.
You're like a tall Joe Pesci.
Shooter said, I wish the Revs were the Braves. We are the blankety-blank Buffalo Bills. Which is
the Braves comparison is pretty accurate, though, if you look at the Revs' history in MLS.
They don't have, but they don't have anything. They got nothing. They're the Bills.
I mean, that's just.
All right. What
That's been the sacrificial lamb for all of New England.
Jarrett, you need to tell us what you think is going to happen tomorrow, and you need to
Y'all can go read about it.
Yeah, well, then tell people to read about it, but you also need to tell us how long it's going to take Ronnie Dyla to threaten to strip to motivate his team.
No.
What is he going to do?
So first of all, let's start with point one. I'm on the record of a 2-1 win. I don't know that it's necessarily be comfortable. I didn't get to expand on this earlier today through just chirping at the show.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to create chances. I think it just comes down to still working on finishing. So I could, if you told me they had double-digit shots and like 7 shots on target with, a couple nice saves and a couple where you're looking at that's not a shot on target, but it should have been, and they're just not sharp, I would buy that. And they win 2-1. The score line doesn't look pretty, but when you look at the shots missed, you're going, oh, this could have been 4-1. I could see that being that game.
I could see that. Yeah, I can roll with that.
As far as Ronnie Dyla is concerned, Ronnie Dyla, was kind of up and down when he started at Celtic. I think his first or second match, he won like 6-1. But at Celtic, you can just kind of run us out there.
You can do that.
And, you're going to be okay, especially when he's at Celtic at that point. Rangers isn't the Rangers that we know. They're working their way up to the ranks after having gone through administration. So there were a couple of years where, one of those years where, he wins one trophy, and it's kind of up and down. Eventually when it clicks, it gets really fun, but you also, the only reason you made it to Europa League one year is because that's the year that Legia Warsaw, I believe that's the year Legia Warsaw whips you like a rented mule, but then has to forfeit a game because they played an ineligible player. Like at the end of the game, it's like 88th minute, they subbed a guy in, and that guy wasn't eligible. So they lose the game on forfeit, and the aggregate score gives it to Celtic to move on and get beat by like Maribor. It was amazing. But by the time it started clicking, things looked better. But man, that's Scotland, and this is MLS, and you're not afforded that luxury when it's not a matter of, oh man, it's kind of up and down right now. No, there's no up right now. It's all down. It's just, I get the frustration that comes with like the Philadelphia game where you had Andre Blake make some really impressive saves that could have changed that score line and maybe change his perception. But right now, it's not clicking with a roster that was clicking beforehand.
Yep.
And dude, he's going to have to do something. I don't know if that involves stripping down on the touchline and getting everybody pumped up.
I hope not.
But if he doesn't do something, I'm very curious. I think I am most curious to see what does New York City do if they have to admit we made a mistake. Because you look back at the last few managers you've had, I wasn't sold on Dome Run. At the end of 2018, I was like, this ain't going to fly long term. And then 2019 happens. I was wrong. Dome did really well there.
Dome did.
I thought 2018 was going to be the harbinger of Dome's downturn in 2019, and no, he absolutely made me look like an idiot. Not that that's hard to do. Before that, you had damn it, what was his name? Top of my head, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Vieira.
Thank you, Patrick. You had Patrick Vieira. I mean, you've had some bangers who have gotten stuff done. They haven't won a cup, but they're getting you to the playoffs, and they're putting in good shifts. You lose last year to a Toronto team that just kind of, goes up and wins in New York when they get a penalty late that, New York had no business committing.
Nope. Robot Jarrett.
Does anyone know what's going on here?
No.
Nope.
I have no idea. I think that's probably a good sign that it's time to go when Jarrett goes full robot.
It's that time. It is that time.
It's that time. So, thanks y'all for hanging out.
Hey, look, I appreciate everyone on the show, on the different channels talking trash to me.
Oh, very nice. The long version.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on, playing ball with us.
Good job.
That's right. Jamming. Because this is a legendary show way before your time.
No one
the
likes
turkey
Cincinnati.
drop.
No one likes Cincinnati.
People in Cincinnati who like Kings Island and Skyline Chili, whatever that is. So
no, never.
I'm just saying.
Not doing it. Did it one time, a long time ago, when I lived in Lexington. It was too close. It's bad. It was scary. I don't know. Not doing it again. Never.
Broadcast plans. What are they?
Oh boy. My day tomorrow. The alarm goes off at 4:30. I'm in the car at 5:45. I'm on 92.9 in the morning at 6:20. Hopefully I'm speaking English. And then we are interviewing Darren Eales from The Bubble at 7 o'clock. You'll get to see that on the AT&T countdown to kickoff. 8 o'clock on Atlanta United social media channels. You can watch Mike and I from the booth at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. We're on the air at 8:30. You can listen on the radio. You can listen on radio.com as well. And then we've got the full-time report for an hour afterwards. So, we're on from 8:30 until noon.
Yep.
It's going to be really weird.
It's the mid-morning with Mike and Jason here on 92.9 The Game.
Pretty much. It's going to be bonkers. But it's going to be a strange one. I'm looking forward to it in a weird way, and I'm also afraid that my brain won't work well enough to call a game at 9 o'clock in the morning.
You're going to fund a month's worth of salaries for Red Bull International.
They got to get you they got to get you a mocha pot, man. They got to get you one of the mocha pot espresso makers.
If we were operating normally, which we wouldn't be having a 9 a.m. game if that was the case, but if the stadium was fully functional, no problem could make that happen. Not happening right now, where it is a skeleton crew opening the doors and letting us run wild in the national broadcast suite. So, yeah. Well, it's Coke Energy. It is trying to survive, and we'll see how this thing goes. But we'll be talking about it on Friday.
We're going to shut the show down because you got to go.
He's got to stop talking.
We're going to talk about all this on Friday. Nothing tomorrow. Don't ask. I'm not doing it. Friday morning, 9 o'clock.
Because he'll be dead.
Yes.
No quakes.
Maybe if I sleep during the day, we'll watch the games in the evening. We'll talk about it on Twitter, but that's it. We'll talk about
Happy birthday to Kelly's dad. Let's give the thank yous in. Happy birthday to Kelly's dad. We want to say thank you, Kelly, for letting us completely hijack your show. Sorry about that.
She's not going to be happy.
Thank you, everybody who tuned in.
So many questions.
She's gonna never have him back on again. He sounded like he was drinking household cleansers when he got
banned.
But thank you, everybody who chimed in on Twitter and Twitch. Thank you. We'll see you again next time. How about that? Okay. Yep. And thank you to Jason for coming in and trying to disprove my theories. And thanks to Jarrett. Thank the family for coming on and doing your thing. Until next time, everybody, it is the run-up. We will see you for the next game. Okay? Next one, right?
Hey.
And this guy, too.
Hey. I love
Later, y'all.
guys.
Bye.